Huzzah! Welcome to the Odyssey. So this is going to be my final episode regarding the whole Samurai Jack thing with the final season and an article that Genndy Tartovsky was actually interviewed. And I'm going to talk about that and my overall thoughts on that, including just the whole ordeal and how I feel with Genndy's decisions based on what he wrote, or said I should say, in this article. So this is based on and has quotes from an article I got from Polygon.com written by Julia Alexander. Of course, with each one it'll start with I quote, and so I'll make it pretty obvious. So being a fellow creator, we have visions of how we want our projects to go. Sometimes they grow in ways we did not originally see. This can be because of better roots, gaining new ideas as we go on, positive things like that, or perhaps the negative like lack of time or resources. We create new worlds, even universes with our own characters to live in. But like the world we live in, these worlds often are not made up of too many happy things. There's elements needed to provide a gripping, truly worthwhile experience that will stay with us. There enters sadness, pain, anger, tragedy, things that make the characters more relatable, because which one of us can we say haven't experienced these emotions in ways? While often we want escapism to get away from these types of emotions, these often enough draw us closer to the world in front of us. We want the resolve. We are right there with the characters, wanting them to succeed. Maybe in something we haven't or have yet to ourselves. Maybe things can draw us to such stories, happy, sad, or in the middle. Maybe things in Samurai Jack run along these lines. A journey where Jack is fighting to resolve and reverse a tragedy and succeed without falling victim to it. Of course, many things wanted the same. Many fans wanted the same, myself included. But Genndy had different plans. So also, this video was requested by another subscriber. So I quote from the article: "Over the course of Samurai Jack's final season, Jack managed to find love and acceptance in the arms of Ashi, the daughter of his greatest nemesis, Aku. They bond over their mutual contempt for the villainous figure who loomed over their entire lives, driven by their desperate desire to kill the unkept beast. Shakespearean in nature, Ashi died after Jack slayed Aku and thought life, for once, would work out in his favor." Tartovsky told Polygon that from the initial planning stages, the intention was always to have Jack fall in love. He would accomplish his goal by defeating Aku, but the end result had to be tragic. Quoted from Tartovsky: "The actual goal we knew we wanted to work toward at the start of the season was to illustrate love and relationships in a sincere way." Tartovsky said, "We worked really hard to make sure the audience loved Ashi, cheered for her and Jack. Then where there is a tragedy, it ends tragically, and people can feel that pain." Then where there is a tragedy, it ends tragically and people can feel that pain. That ending was always going to be our ending, because that pain Jack feels is the most beautiful thing in the world." Tartovsky said, "Life is life, and they've always operated under that philosophy. If Jack ended up walking down the aisle with Ashi, building a future with the woman who saved his life, it wouldn't stay true to this mythology or purpose. In order to weave the tragic tale of Samurai Jack, his life would have to remain one of constant sacrifice." End of quote. What I appreciate here is that they gave us a wonderful new character and an actual love interest for Jack, which feel free to correct me, was only the second time in the series. The time before that was when Aku masqueraded as a woman trying to free her quote-unquote father, requesting the help of Jack. What are the odds both would be related to Aku, right? It was something I did not actually see happening when she first was introduced. Jack had gained many friends, but his journey was his alone. but when his friends were needed, they would be there. Genndy succeeded. I grew to care for Ashi a lot, nearly as much as Jack. They were perfect for each other in my eyes. When she died, it was heart-wrenching for me. The ending left me empty. The quote Genndy says there before was, "the most beautiful thing in the world." Part of me thinks he means it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved, and how it fit his idea of the tragedy he wanted to bring to the story of Samurai Jack. Me, personally, it is not what I want from a story's ending. What made it hurt the most was the fact that they were down the aisle, and then Ashi starts to cease to exist. It should have happened as soon as the Aku of the past was killed. Am I right? I did not feel it was in good taste to have it where it wasn't happy. You still get the tragedy because of it already established. They loved each other and had killed Aku at that point. And if it had to happen, it still made sense as far as time travel goes. The fact that it waited and was so prolonged to that point, that's what killed me. And that was, I think, not in good taste. So I quote, "I feel like we would be cheating if everything was happy and perfect at the end," Tartovsky said. "It didn't feel right. We thought about it for sure. Why don't we give it a happy ending? Instinctively, we knew that it would be wrong." End quote. Now, I mean, I don't think it'd be cheating, to be honest. From the beginning, time travel was a thing. The tragedy could have been just that Jack lost his childhood, growing up without his parents while they suffered as slaves, and him himself suffering for over 50 years, coming to seeing all his friends get murdered in the final battle, and now no longer even knowing he exists because of the time shift, and has to deal with that mental torment that still exists with him. And they could have him reflect on that during the season finale, and they could have easily made it where maybe, I mean, think of it that alone. He had maybe he was maybe 10 when he was separated from his parents, and then he goes all these years without seeing them. They're tortured for all these years, and because of all this, maybe they don't survive. That could have been the tragedy alone, and most things ended up being a tragedy. But I do get what he means. Like, the one good thing he did was able to destroy Aku, and then everything else is just a constant sacrifice. And I understand what he means there. It's different, and it's still very tricky to pull off without annoying fans, because we as fans don't want a tragedy to follow Jack. But as a storyteller, I see what he wanted to do. He wanted to do something different that wasn't that wasn't really something we could bank on, something we didn't think would actually happen. So getting back to what I was saying, with the torment that still exists within him, perhaps even showing a darkness even within him that lingered with him the beginning of the season, with the whole issue of him dealing with maybe, he was dealing with the suicidal thoughts, and he had that dark side of him constantly tormenting him, telling him to do that. Maybe that's still stuck with him, and he still has to deal with that. Even Ashi is having trouble doing that, and that is a tragedy alone itself. He still has the PTSD. That could be something even there that they could have done instead. Yes, he was defeated, but in a way stays with Jack because only he could defeat Jack. The darkness still exists within Jack, a small element that could be touched on in a couple cool ways. At the end of the day, this is a subject matter that divides many people. The last paragraph I said alone can be a large debate on its own. This could have been something that Genndy may not have thought of, because he may not have wanted it to be anything like that. Like I said, the ending that he had planned out was probably the definitive version for him, because in the article he doesn't say how he didn't really dislike the ending at all. That's how he came to conclude it was. So at the end of it all, Genndy's biggest regrets are, I quote, "I wish we were able to tell a much more driven arc," Tartovsky said. "I wish they were able to connect the episodes and really make it a very linear journey. and even have a double-length episode if the story is willing. TV is one of those things where you have to believe in your instincts and you have to live with your choices. This is my best effort and the best that I could do with it at the time. There's a lot of crap and a lot of good things, and that's something I accept fully. But I'm proud of Jack. End quote. I think he should be. In the whole run of things, and with Jack itself, with the whole series of Jack, he should definitely be proud. It was something that definitely is going to stay with a lot of fans, and it defined a lot of generations, myself included, along the other lineup of cartoons on Cartoon Network. But I think there's a lot of crap thing. I think that's what he was talking about with the ending and how some people probably felt about it. With this, I feel like he's happy, but he just wish he had a bit more time to do more things with it. And it's cool that he still is happy about it, and that he feels like he did give it his best effort as far as how he wanted it to play out. So for what we got, it's still quite an excellent ride. It was not what many wanted for Jack's conclusion, but in a way, it was. Jack succeeded in defeating a coup. I wish Ashley could have been there with him, and honestly, that's how I would have concluded the series. But I never saw Samurai Jack as a tragedy genre. Genndy did. He deserved to see it end the way he wanted because it was his creation. But in all honesty, I wish it could have still been in the way where it would not have divided the fans and where Ashley could have actually lived. Life is life, as Genndy said, who hasn't lost a loved one. And let me rephrase that. Life is life, as Genndy said, comma, who hasn't lost a loved one? You know, which one of us in life can say we haven't lost a loved one before? This shows how real the show not only was at its core, but how real it is to its fans and why we wanted the best for Jack at the end. A story like this shows that you must take what you have with appreciation. Jack lost his love, but he saved the world at that sacrifice. Through this tragedy, many more could live, because sometimes as hard as we may try, life will not always give us what we have earned. As a side note, Gurren Lagann did that same kind of ending, and I'm like, dying a little inside. I can't knock him for doing what he felt. He was right with the story, though. Do I think Jack personally deserved better? Yes. Do I think we as the fans deserve to see a happier conclusion? Yes. Because the fans can make or break the life of these creations and just the success of people, you know? But in the end, this story is still a very deep and meaningful one. And I can appreciate it, even if the ending is too sad for me to ever watch again, to be honest. And at this respect too, I really wish we could have at least got that alternate ending. You know, what's the word? What's that phrase? It's two birds, one stone. So the great thing about alternate endings is, say you didn't like the other ending, then have the ultimate one be your definitive one. That's what I would have done. The alternate ending I did a reaction to not too long ago on my channel, that is my definitive ending. I do not see the ending as it was on Samurai Jack my definitive ending. So me personally, the alternate ending that was created is mine. I do not recognize the original ending as the true ending to me. And that's the beauty of fiction. It may not have ended the way we wanted to, but someone else made it the way they did, and that's the one I choose to accept. So that's how I feel about it. I did do a podcast about this too. Do be sure to check it out. I'll be sure to link it, a link to it in the description below and at the end card of this video. My two videos talking about the ending and how I would have ended it, and then my reaction to an alternate ending that someone else made. And there's a petition I did too, but I don't know if it's actually going to matter anymore since the DVD release already did release, but there was a petition where people could sign to have the alternate ending that person created as a part of the DVD release, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So let's see where we left off here. So even though the ending is too sad for me to ever watch again, I'm no fan of tragedy stories that still remain the way that still remain that way to the end. Life gives us enough of that already. I wish he did have more time and that we could have Ashy back, but I am happy that at least Jack did finally vanquish Echo. And as I said, that ending, the ending that Genndy made, I don't consider the true ending. My ending is the alternate one. I'm just gonna repetition that for emphasis here. She left a mark just as Jack did, and I have learned a lot from their stories as a fellow creator. When I get the chance to show my fans what my characters are about and the world they live in, when I finally get to publish my books, I strive not to only be proud of my work like Genndy is of his, but to leave a more powerful, positive mark on my friends too. Because at this point, there's always gonna be a way where you can do things that people don't expect. And tragedies just aren't my thing, and I don't really think they're the best for a lot of things like this, but I can respect the amount of work that was put into this story. And while I'm not really a big fan of Genndy at this point, I mean, at first when I watched this ending, that ruined my whole week. I was in odds with myself and with the person who requested me talking about this. At first, we were talking about dogging him and being, talking about how he didn't care for the fans and all these things. And once I actually calmed down and once I actually calmed down and thought about all these things, I thought maybe it wasn't the best way to approach the matter, bringing negativity to more negative things. I thought that maybe tackling the subject like this was the best way for me personally. I didn't want to have a negative video talking about this. I wanted to add as much positivity as I could to it, and despite the fact that I do not like the ending at all, at least scratch that. The only part I don't like is the fact that Ashy died. I could live with the rest of it as long as she was there, but the fact that that didn't happen, it made me really mad. But it's one of those things I just have to let go and move on, because the ending can't change. And repetition again, I decided not to accept that as my true ending, just like with other things that I feel the same way. So I'll leave it at that. While it's impossible to please every fan just right, I'm gonna give it my absolute best shot. Thank you, Genndy, and thank you, Jack and Ashy. There is a lot I could add here, but I didn't want to go too far into this because I know it's a subject that has been talked about to death by the community, and I know I'm really late to the final punch here, but better late than never. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what other types of videos you'd like to see from me in the future. If you want me to talk about the Jack comic book that's currently out, what's it called? Jack something. It involves more time travel and alternate realities. Quantum Jack, there we go. I was told it wasn't really good, but I still want to look into it because, I mean, it's more Samurai Jack content, so why wouldn't I? Just to at least give it a shot, because everyone views and likes things differently, so maybe I would actually like it enough to consider it something decent. I don't know. So be sure to let me know how you felt about this series as a whole and what other content you'd like to see from me in the future, just to emphasize that. I'll leave a link to the actual article in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, I'm out of here. Until the wind hits our sails yet again, I will see you in the next Odyssey. Later days.